Hi, guys. Let's all take a deep breath. This is going to be a very different podcast episode than normal. And if you are new to Live Your Fuck Yes Life and to me, hi. We're also doing a video today because I just really felt like called to have this via not just my voice. So if you're listening to the podcast, hi, I love you guys. And also you can find this on our YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to look at our faces. But I've never done a video podcast recording before. And I'm like, here we go. Let's do it.
Hey, if there's any time to have a visual component to something, it is
now.
now.
Is the time, 110%. And if you're not familiar with who I am or who this lovely human is, my name is Katherine Loy. I'm a mindset and wellness coach. I focus on body positivity and love and doing mindset work to really just like find your soul and come home to your body and your mind and your being from the inside out. I also have my podcast, Live Your Fuck Yes Life. I am the host of that and bring on amazing experts. And I also am the best-selling author of the book, I Chopped Off My Tits. Hey, which is true. I really did. So if you want to read that,
which is true. I really did.
It's not just a lie.
What if it wasn't true and you wrote a book called that?
My tits off? That would be really weird. Yeah, that would be really fucking weird. OMG. But yeah, you can snag all of that in the show notes or in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. You want more info on like fear and feels and fucks? That's me. That's what I do. And then this amazing human is my best friend and business partner, and also like the go-to expert in the world on mental health, on relationships, on communication, on sex, and all of the goodness. And we run programs together. She does amazing things separately, and I'm going to let her introduce herself instead of just taking the mic forever. So
no, thank you. I'm so happy to. I'm happy to be doing this with you. I'm not happy for the reason why we're doing it. So my name is Rachel Wright. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a certified sex educator, and yeah, I write, I teach, I do a lot of things, but all under the umbrella of mental health, sex, and relationships, like Amanda said. I work a lot in the LGBTQIA community. I also work with a lot of quote unquote non-traditional relationship design, so polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, and that is me.
she also has an amazing Bachelor podcast with her incredible husband. It's called The Right Reasons, WRIGHT.
I can't wink.
And
these blue blockers don't do me any favors.
If you watched though the last season and you're a Bachelor fan, go and just like binge listen to their podcast while you need some extra stuff in your brain that's like fun and uplifting and also like poignant and from a mental health standpoint, and like their dynamic is the best. I just love it so much.
Thank you. And we're on YouTube. If you're watching this as a video, just type in The Right Reasons in the search bar and we'll pop right up. You can binge the whole last season.
I was also on one of their episodes talking about body diversity when they were here and visiting in Chicago. So yeah. And if you're a longtime podcast listener, you are well familiar with Rachel. She has like what I think you've been on 4 times now, like just talking about all the goodness.
I came out on your podcast.
You did. Yeah. Right after I came out as bi.
Yeah.
So some good stuff. And I just really, I had a podcast episode all ready to go for this week. And amidst all of the COVID-19, coronavirus, self-quarantine, whatever the fuck you're calling it for yourself, I just wanted to have a really open and honest dialogue about mental health, about how we're supporting ourselves through this time, and also just sharing honestly with where I'm at. You probably can tell if you're watching on YouTube, I have been crying. And this is, as Rachel calls it, emotional sweating. And I
copyright.
You
trademark. I don't know which one it is, but I'm doing it.
But it's part of what there just has been so much going on, and Rachel and I separately and also together, we run a program right now called Unapologetically Confident, And we had our, as we're recording this, we had our weekly call with our amazing, amazing humans
It's life-giving.
last night. And our week, ironically enough, and totally because the universe worked this way, is about mental health right now. That's the module that we're working through. And just being able to come together and hear all of their perspectives and how varied the experiences are for all of us, right? And also having that pop up in my membership call that happened this week in my Live Your Fuckiest Life membership. And Rachel's been hosting some incredible free calls, and we'll share more about how to get continued support at the end of the call, at the end of this recording. But it just really made me think about how right now is the time more than ever to come together and talk transparently, not just talk about like, oh, here are great things you can do and I'm doing so awesome. And it's like so many people are. It's like, how are we actually doing? Because I don't know about you, but this has been a really tough week for me. And I come from a deeply privileged place in that space. And,
Can you explain what I know what you mean because I know you.
yeah.
For anybody watching or listening, the word privilege gets used in different contexts. And I would love for you to just unpack what you mean for yourself about coming from a privileged place with this.
Yeah. I think everyone has such a different story, right, around all of this and how this is impacting us. My privilege lies in the fact that I am young. I am really healthy because I have taken a lot of steps in my life to get there. I am a previous binge eater and person who did not take care of themselves a lot, but I don't have lung problems. I don't have diabetes. I don't have any of the immunocompromised. I have a lot of friends who have breast cancer and are navigating that. And I come from my health from a deeply privileged place. I also have a lot of privilege in around the fact that a lot of my business and my work outside of my work as an actor, which is the heart of what I do. But outside of that, my work as a coach, my work as a podcast host, as a writer, so much of that has been at home, and that has not been impacted as a result. Although my income has, as a lot of us, but I haven't lost my entire stream of income. Like a lot of my really dear friends have, a lot of my artists and my theater friends have just immediately overnight gone from, having jobs to literally having nothing in their corners. And that is terrifying. I also don't have kids to take care of. I have a dog, but I don't have kids to take care of and support. And my life for the most part has not been deeply uprooted by this experience.
And I also think that it's super important to mention, especially if you're listening to this as a podcast and not looking at us, is we are two white women.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is that there is inherent privilege in that because we're white. And I hate that. I hate it. If I could change it, I would, obviously. And I think it's incredibly important to acknowledge, because part of the reason why we've been able to get to a point to have a business where we can work from home or live in a place that we love is because we were born into that. And I'm not taking away, I worked my way through school. I know Amanda, it's not that, I bought my first car. I worked at Chuck E. Cheese.
Living paycheck to paycheck is real.
Yeah. There's no competition. We don't need to compare. And I think it's very vastly important that we just acknowledge that, because we have not had some of the same struggles that systemically other people are dealing with right now, and that our country is really seeing the consequences of not dealing with sooner. My husband works in hospitality and he doesn't have a job for, I don't even know how long.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about where you feel like you come from in that space too? Because I think it's so deeply important. We talk about it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way.
You're good.
Okay.
Conversation.
I know. I just, for me, it's different. I'm in a very unique situation where what I do and have been doing for the past 4 years is support people in their mental health, sex life, and relationships via video call
Yeah.
or on the phone.
Yeah.
And when I teach, primarily I teach online.
Mhm.
Do I have in-person workshops? Sure. Do I go speak at events? Sure.
Yeah.
And primarily it's all online. And so at a time like this, I'm needed now more than I was before this even happened.
Totally.
And from a monetary perspective, it hasn't changed anything because I am not charging for the support groups that I'm running for this. I could not, in my heart of hearts, ever do that.
Yeah.
Um, Inherently in what I do, yes, my income comes from, and this is something that I had to really process early on, similar to a doctor, is when somebody's in pain, I have income.
Yeah.
And that is a very bizarre thing to
Own.
own and even say out loud, honestly. Um, and we all have people in our lives
And
that
we all need that because we all are in pain
correct.
in some way. Like,
Right.
we all need that support. Like, I would,
Right.
and you and I both wouldn't be doing the work that we're doing now if we hadn't been in pain in that space in our own lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's one of those things of if I could do it for free, I would. Like if I didn't need if I came from a family that had some sort of trust fund situation and I could just donate my time, I'd be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. It wouldn't change
Also
anything.
still do, and we do in as many ways as we can. Like, we record podcast episodes, like, this is for completely free for y'all,
Right.
so that we can provide support, running support groups, showing up on Instagram, like, doing our best to provide as much free resources for all of you to really, really empower yourself. Like, that is, at least right now, where all of my energy is pouring into, and also trying to figure out how to continue to make an income. Um,
Right. Right.
it's this interesting balance. And I'm sure a lot of you listening, whether you are on the online space already or not, are feeling are feeling the push pull of, I want to support, I want to give back. And also, how do I
I
live?
need to eat. Like I need to pay rent. I need to do yes. And I think that that is something that we don't talk about enough in general. This crisis, this pandemic that we're living through, this unprecedented thing is going to have us have conversations that we needed to have decades ago that
Mhm,
we were too scared and have been too scared to have.
mhm,
And it is going to shove all of us into insane amounts of discomfort and
mhm.
insane amounts of me saying on a podcast like this. It's we are all going to have conversations, multiple conversations
Yeah.
that we never wanted to have,
Mhm.
whether those are public or private.
Yeah, and I'm in a strange sense grateful that I have been doing that on this podcast for as long as I have.
Yeah.
I feel like it's giving me the agency to be able to do that in so
Yes.
many other places in my life. And I hope that by listening to this, it empowers you to do the same in some capacity, because we need to. Like, that is why I started this podcast in the first place, is to have
Right.
conversations that most people aren't having, because like, it is so important to talk about all the things. And right now, like, yes, there is this umbrella of corona. Okay, sidebar, and we're gonna just add, like, but literally every time I hear corona, I just have to say this because I've been saying this to all my people. You know the song My Sharona, do 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 do. Every time I say that,
I
as
know.
comes on, and I have to keep the levity, y'all. You know me.
I really do think that, yeah, and that's
The
the thing is
Enneagram
like
7 in me is like,
our brains will do a
fine.
lot to cope with situations that are terrifying, and part of that is finding comedy in it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't detract from the seriousness of it. We know how serious it is. We've all been in our homes for this is my week. This is a week I've
Yeah,
been
this
in
is
my
day
house.
6 for me. Day 6. Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, anyway, I think that, yes, in that way there's privilege there. I also want to acknowledge though that I when I decided to take my practice online, I received so much hate,
Yeah.
so much resistance,
Yeah.
so much pushback. And now I have people coming to me asking me how to do that.
I had the same thing. Yeah.
And so it's one of those things, like, it's, yeah, you can say I'm privileged on this side of it because I made that decision 4 years ago, but that was going against the grain when I did.
Totally.
And it was not easy to do at the time. So everything has, more to the story.
And everything is like, we're seeing everything in such a small lens right now, which makes complete fucking sense that that is where we're showing up from. But seeing things big picture, I think, is so huge. And I know you and I have had like deeply similar trajectories in our
Yeah.
businesses. We like, I've literally been gone on the same thing. And yeah, I experienced the same. And also like, it's really interesting and hard. And I also, amidst all of that, am feeling all of the things.
Yeah.
And I think what's so important is that like, it's so easy right now to get into well, your situation is less bad than mine, and this comparison thing. And I'm watching that happening on social media so much. And
Can I say something about this?
of course,
For everyone out there, everyone, your situation is your situation. It does not make it any more worthy or less worthy of it being real for you.
yeah.
I really, I've seen the opposite happen too, where people are shaming themselves for
Mm,
feeling scared
yes.
because they don't have something that immunocompromises them.
Yep.
Or then I've seen people that are compromised being rude to people who aren't, saying, well, you don't even know I'm in
Mm-hmm.
this is not the time to compare. So really, there's never a time. It's never helpful. It does not do anything but perpetuate hate. What we need to do is be listening to each other and have empathy for where our situations overlap.
Yeah.
If I was immunocompromised and Amanda wasn't, how can I find an overlap in our situation to where we can support each other?
Yeah. And it's like, that's a beautiful sentiment. And also it can feel really scary to do that. And I
Yeah.
know, and ultimately all of those comments and all of those feelings that you may have had yourself, that I know I certainly have like felt a lot of shame around feeling the way I'm feeling. Um, those are all okay. Those are all valid. And it is completely, completely normal to feel your feels, whatever your feelings are. It is okay to feel your feels. And it is also okay to have those thoughts, have those emotions, because that is part of your being, and it is coming directly from a place of fear.
Yeah.
Because we're terrified right now. We're terrified because we are in a circumstance that we have never experienced before. Like literally, like you were talking about your grandmother, how she's like, I've never experienced before. The closest thing I can think of to this that is in my life is, and it is completely different, but all I can think about is, wow, my grandmother was in World War II. She was Jewish, and she got brought to Auschwitz for 3 years and navigated that. And her mother was freaking exterminated because of her identity and her belief system. And this is obviously not that at all, but this is the closest thing I can think of to like an overwhelming crisis that I have experienced, like from a lineage standpoint in my personal life, where it's like, there is a crisis, there is a group of people that are, like being impacted by something bigger than themselves that they cannot control. And it is genuinely impacting our lives. And
And
like the
sorry, go ahead.
amount of trauma, that come, like for me, that has been inherited from that, and that's passed down, like it is at its root. We are living in a state of fear right now.
Yeah.
We are living in a deep rooted state of fear. And those comments and those things, that's where they're coming from. So when you see that online, when you hear that from a family member or someone else, know that it's not really them. It's their fear talking.
Yes.
And I think that's the most important thing to acknowledge. And
Yeah. Yeah.
how can you choose to show up intentionally for yourself and then allow that to ripple into your life? Because that's all we can control. We can't control what's happening outside. We can't control what's happening, and what other people are saying online in our personal spheres, but we can control how we show up. We can control our thoughts and how we choose to frame them and what we put into the world. And I know that you talk a billion and 10 stuff around fear and stuff, but like that is something that like I so deeply have experienced in my life on so many levels. And this is a whole new thing, y'all. Like this is a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
new giant level of fear.
Well, there's never been anything that is affecting, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter where you live.
We are all impacted.
We are all impacted by this. I mean, the first person that I heard got diagnosed, confirmed case, was Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the night that I came home, and I haven't left since. I think it's really important to note too, on the same note as fear. And by the way, I apologize for those of you who have heard me talk before. I'm typically far more articulate. My brain, just in full disclosure, is going so many miles a minute. It has been a very interesting process to be at home.
Yeah.
I work from home, but everybody else that I live with does not. And now they're all here too. So like I can hear them talking, and I'm not used to hearing them talking. I am helping more people right now than I typically do. And my bandwidth, just in full honesty, is very highly used right now.
Yep.
And so if you're used to hearing me speak and you're like, what is wrong with her? I'm fine.
We're just where we are.
Yeah. And I'm a bit overextended right now, and that's okay. I'm choosing that, and I'm conscious about it. And I just wanted to acknowledge it, because if anybody's hearing it and they're like, does she have it? I don't think so. I don't know at this point.
And Rach, like that's okay. Like
I know.
we're in spaces right now where like we are showing up for our people, and also part of what we do as humans and part of what we preach, me and you, in both of our separate and together practices, is being ourselves. Like being unapologetically confident is being fully in touch with what's going on inside.
Yes.
And showing up vulnerably in that space. That is literally what I aim to do every single day. It is a constant practice. It is what I empower with my clients. It is what you do too in all the ways. And it's like, sometimes we're going to show up as messes because that's where we're at. And that is totally fucking okay.
And that's why I wanted to say that on here, is because I think that anybody listening, if you're listening to this and you're not your quote unquote best, that's okay. And you can acknowledge that with your people if that feels good. Yeah. Usually when we keep things in and are thinking about it and internalizing it, that's when it becomes a big thing. Right? I said a
little bit more about that, because I've been having a lot of conversations in my membership with gals who feel like they need to
appear a certain way.
Appear strong, especially gals with kids. Or like just people in general who are like that they have the privilege, right? And so it's like I feel like I need to show up strongly for all the people who don't, and find a way to support, and then it becomes this bubbling effect, right?
Yes.
And I have experienced this firsthand in my life, right? With all my years of binge eating, with all my years of over exercising.
Yeah.
I pushed everything down. I squashed my emotions for years until it became a full-blown panic disorder, until I was having panic attacks every day because my body could not take it anymore. And I'm watching this slowly starting to happen. And I know that as this continues, because it will, that's only going to get worse. And from a mental health standpoint, can you talk about what the impacts are of that and how we can that space?
So you just did a great job describing what it does on an individual level. It will eventually come back to bite you in the ass. And usually it's in the form of panic attacks. It can manifest into a physical issue, like a psychosomatic symptom, like physical pain. The effect, though, that I would really like to focus on with this in particular is that when you show up inauthentically with what you're feeling. So, for example, if you are feeling fear and you're showing up around your kids, around your partner, around your roommates, around your audience on social media as everything is so happy. Oh my God, I'm home. I could just take baths all day. This is great. Hashtag quarantini. Like, when you're showing up that way, the message that other people get is, oh, I guess I should be like that too. What is wrong with me that I'm feeling fear?
And the shoulds start building.
Yes. So when we're not showing up as our authentic self, being what we're feeling in that moment, even in front of our kids, we are telling them this is how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So then your child in turn feels wrong for feeling fear because they're like, well, my mom and dad, or my mom and mom, whatever, my parents, they don't feel fear, so I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Now, it's a whole other thing to manage your emotions and manage the expression of your emotions to not break down hysterical in front of your 4-year-old, right? Like, there is a spectrum to this. Think about it as if there was a loss in your family and you're grieving someone in your family. Grief it is such a roller coaster. Amanda and I were actually just talking about this before we hit record. Grief is such a roller coaster in itself that you don't know when those emotions are going to come up. If we pretend that everything is fine, our kids, our friends, our partners never learn that that roller coaster is actually normal for everyone. Because we're so busy trying to show everyone that we are okay when we're not. So not only does it have a horribly negative effect on yourself, which is obviously number one, you're having a very negative ripple on the people around you. And we think we're doing this selfless thing by covering it up and not like burdening other people with it. But it's actually quite selfish because we're basically telling people, like, what's wrong with you? I can, show up and be fine. Why can't you? And so acknowledging with your kids, sit them down. Hey, this is going on. Tell me what you're feeling about it. And then you can say, okay, mommy's feeling kind of scared too.
Yeah.
What does it feel like when you're scared? And
Yeah.
asking questions, like teaching them how to access their feelings. And you can do that with your partner too.
That's what I was going to say, like, do that with everyone in your life. And
yes.
If you're not in a space where you want to do that online, and that's totally fair, right? Like, you can keep
of course,
ability to yourself.
yes, absolutely.
But this is something that I practice and preach myself, and have taken a lot of time to get to that space in the last couple of years, because for so long I was that person just in day-to-day life. Like, I squashed everything that I felt and just put on this positive front because that's what I thought other people wanted me to be. I lived in the shoulds, you guys. I lived in the space of just like, be the support you need to be for everyone else, and don't look inside and don't allow yourself. And it is, as someone who has been there, it is debilitating.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting emotional because it is debilitating, and I'm watching people start that process. Like, I'm watching people external to me. I'm grateful I have my clients that I can really show up for right now and like help them curb all of these things.
Right.
Because it now more than ever, we need that support. But like,
I know. Ditto.
people I love, like, start developing binge eating disorders. I'm watching the process. And as someone who spent 5 years navigating that, it is hard to get out of. And it's just like, I feel so much. But I feel so much. And like, this is me being crying in front of y'all. Like, I don't normally, like 2 years ago, we wouldn't have caught dead crying.
Right. She would have been like, cut. We're going to edit this out and
100%.
go back.
And I would have shamed myself for getting emotional, because I needed to be this strong, empowered, like bright light. And yes, I am that. And I am also deeply emotional. I am
Yep.
also deeply empathic. And to not own all of those things and share that with Kevin, share that with my best friends, share that with my people, it does a disservice to them. It does a disservice to me, and it does a disservice to all of you. And I will never, ever, ever not be me anymore. Like, if y'all listen to my, what was it, episode 83, like when I talked about my awakening, like I have really, really done the work to come home to myself and to own all of that. But most of us haven't. Most of us don't have those tools. And it's taken time and work to get to that space. And so that's why I really wanted to come on too today and sort of share, like, you're not alone in that space at all. And if you're feeling like that's starting to perpetuate, like, we are in your corner. You know?
No, truly, truly. And look to the people who are having these conversations.
Yes.
Find them. There are more than me and Amanda.
Yes.
Luckily, there are more than me and Amanda. If you have not been in therapy before, this is an excellent opportunity to try teletherapy. States have lessened the restrictions around teletherapy. You can literally, like, they just got rid of them in most states. It's amazing. Reach out, like, and I was getting a couple messages on Instagram just earlier with questions of, hey, I'm in this state. Do you know blah, 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 blah. I'm happy to help
Give resources.
you find the resource
100%.
that works for you.
Please
It's
reach
not
out.
like, you don't have to worry about reaching out with the thought that then you owe us something.
Correct.
Like, we are here for you. That was always, especially right now.
Yes.
Especially right now. Come to the support group. DM Amanda. DM me. Listen to podcasts. Find people that you want to sit on Zoom and watch a movie with.
Yes.
You're going to have to think out of the box a little bit, because we are all in a state of, like we've said a million times, and we'll probably say a million times more, we've never been here before. None of us have. Literally no one on this earth has experienced something like this before. So we are going to get very creative in this space. And most of the things are probably going to go away when things start to go to whatever the new normal is. And some things are going to stay. And it's the people who decided to feel their feelings and then take creative action and take that radical personal responsibility of, you know what? I'm not going to go outside, not because I'm afraid for my health, but because I give a shit about other people's health. So I'm going to stay inside.
Because you can, and you have that privilege too. I just want to put that in there.
Yes, because my job does not require me to go. Yes. And while I'm inside, I am going to do everything that I can to take care of me, to take care of the people that I'm here with, and to take care of anyone who I can reach through the internet.
10%. We have the ability right now to use social media for good.
Yeah.
To bring the people, if you follow people who are unfollow all the people who are not bringing light and this kind of conversation, and follow the people who are, and reach the fuck out.
Yes.
I've been having so many conversations with people asking me how to navigate binge eating through this process, asking me like what to do for workouts that are empowering, asking me like how to like build your mindset tools and like get on our email list. Like, we are here to support you with as much as we possibly can. And I'm going to post the link for Rachel's pop-up support group that's happening. If you're listening to this in real time, it's happening tomorrow. I know she's going to have multiple other ones, so just get on the list and get in her world. But you know, get resourceful, fucking resourceful with your time, and do what you can.
Even things like looking at who celebrity wise is using this as an opportunity to connect.
Kristen
what's
Bell's
his
my
name?
fave.
Yeah. And Josh Gad and Amy Adams were doing bedtime stories for kids.
Oh,
Last night, John Mayer did like an hour
John
Instagram
Legend is doing
live.
a live too. I saw that. Yeah.
Yes. And these people, you guys, are stepping up to adapt and cope with the situation. Everybody's income is going to be affected by this, whether you are making $10,000 a year or you are making $10 trillion a year. Everyone's income is going to be affected.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to sit and say, oh, well, that person is going to make 1 trillion less dollars. But look, at the end of the day, that's still an effect on their life. And yes, in the big scheme of things, of course, the people, unfortunately, because of the stupid choices that our culture has made leading up to this point.
Systemic problems in this world.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But here we are. So we cannot change the system today.
Correct.
We're not going to change the system while we're coping with a pandemic. So what can we do to show up and give back? And that's what we're talking about. Finding those people that are standing up and doing that. Finding the people who are starting the support groups, who are starting chats, who are going on Instagram Live, I've never seen so many of the bubbles at the top of my Instagram be live at the same time. Like, there's so much entertainment.
And also, it's okay if that's not serving you to step away.
Yes.
And do what you need to do for you. And feel the feels and cry and listen to fucking whatever music. I've been listening to Sarah Bareilles on repeat.
Yeah, me too.
And just bawl my face off. And it's also okay if you are in a place where you are not working and you don't have a choice but to be home. It is okay. I read this quote. I'm going to share it because it's really hit home with me. And obviously we are not all in a space where this can happen. And I'm fully owning that. But this is just a beautiful way for me that has brought me some solace in this time to hear this quote. I've sent it to literally everyone I know and love. And this is what it says. And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced, some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently, and the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. I know that this is scary. I know that there is so much going on. And I know that for some of us, that might feel so outside of our realm of understanding right now. And we always have a choice on where we put our time and our energy and where we put our thoughts more than anything. We can choose to see this as the end of the world. And there were days when we're going to feel that way because I don't know about you, but this has felt like the first 30 minutes of a zombie apocalypse movie to me. And that's real. And you can choose to use this time to come together as a society, as a community, and do your part in whatever ways you can for you, for the people you love, and for the world. If we all showed up in that space, can you imagine what we would do? Can you imagine what we could come out on the other side of this with? I can, and it looks like a much brighter and beautiful world. And I really, 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 really empower you to get quiet with yourself and ask yourself, how can I serve me? How can I serve the people I love? And how can I serve others? Even in the smallest ways, like putting a fucking sign on your window so the people across the street from you can get like positive messages, or like what all the Italians are doing and like singing in the streets. Like, it doesn't have to be this big thing and showing up like Rachel and I are doing with, our clients and our communities and serving and teaching. If that's not where you're at, create music and share it online,
Yep.
get deeper connected with your people, like FaceTime the shit out of that person that you haven't talked to in 10 years. And my husband literally had a conversation with his best friend from high school who he hasn't talked to in 10 years yesterday for an hour and a half because of all of this. Like, how can we
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch and get to finally meet this person who, like, I have heard so many stories around, and like for whatever reason they just had lost touch and they chose to come together, right? Like, how can we do that? How can we come together right now, in this really weird ass time? That is what I implore you to focus on and to think about and to really be present for. Yeah. And I could talk about like a million things today around, like, how to support yourself
I
through
know.
breastfeeding
I
and all of
know.
this stuff. But like, when it comes down to it, like, I think that really is the root of it. And Rach, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
No, I like kind of zoned out listening to you because it was the first time that I was really taking that in and
Mm.
not being the one saying it. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I just, I think it's so important to remember that we all have a responsibility here and that we can look at this as something is happening to us. And look, it is like, it is. And what are we going to do? Because if we sit in a place of, well, I have no control over anything, now I have no job, my kids are out of school, I'm in a blah, 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 and we get into this place of becoming the victim
Mm.
of this virus, that place does not help move you forward. That place does not help move anyone forward. So feel the feelings,
Mm.
mourn, just be present with yourself and be present with the people that you love. And like Amanda said, just be a light. And being a light doesn't mean that you don't feel darkness. And
Mm.
it doesn't mean that you can't show up messy.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean that you're on all the time.
Mhm.
You being a light to your kids, for example, is being you. It's being there. It- That's it. Most kids that are really young right now are going to look back on this as the best vacation they ever had with their mom and dad. That's the thing, is that depending on the age, perception is everything, right? Perception is our reality. So for kids where both parents, regardless of gender, work, they're home now, they're like, "Oh my god, this is the best week of my whole life. Like both my parents are home." And for them, that's the perspective, where for us, we're like, how am I going to pay the electricity bill? How's this going to happen? There is a middle ground
Yeah.
in between those two. And wherever you are on that spectrum, just feel it. Just feel it and just reach out and be you. And there's nothing wrong with you for whatever you're feeling.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got.
No, I love it. We have so much more to say on this,
We
obviously.
could talk for like
We could
12
talk
hours.
forever, but I really implore you, if you need anything, to reach out to myself or Rachel. Rachel, can you share where they can find you on Instagram? Because that's the best way to probably reach both of us.
Absolutely. It's the easiest and fastest and most personal. Nobody is ever on my Instagram besides me. Um, so my handle is the Wright. So the WRIGHT and then the underscore Rachel, RACHEL.
And you can find me at Amanda Katherine Lloyd. That's Catherine with a K, like kite or koala. And all of that will be in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, and also in the show notes, for you as well. Please know that we are in your corner,
Yeah.
and that you are not alone,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, some way, this is
Yeah.
going to be okay. Um, and we just deeply love you and thank you for being here with us, and sharing the space and giving yourself the opportunity to listen or watch, so that you can ground yourself, because that is something, this is a radical act of self-care for you right now, being here with us
Mm-hmm.
amidst all of this. And I just want to really celebrate you for doing that, because right now It's most people's last thing on the to-do list. And
Yeah.
I would empower you to put it as the first thing, because when you can find even 5 minutes to just breathe and just like let yourself be present in your body, and then show up for all the things you need to show up for. We need to take care of us more than ever so that we can be there for everything else. Because
Mhm.
as soon as we stop doing that, everything fucking crumbles. And I don't know about you, but I'm not living in a world where shit crumbles anymore. Like I refuse to do that. I spent too many years there. And while things might feel crumbly on the outside, you can choose to not be crumbly on the inside. And we are here for you. Rachel, I'm also going to put, she does these support groups, you guys, they're completely free.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put that in the link as well.
The link is really easy. It's rachelwrightnyc.com/support group.
Perfect. And if you are wanting more space to like have these conversations, I know I've talked about this on my podcast a million times, and also just have actual community where we're coming together and learning, and it's much more small and supportive. I have my Live Your Fuck Yes Life membership. It is a paid monthly membership, but I have cut my prices in half for all of, I don't know when. I probably will be
Yeah.
permanently. So it's literally $22 to hop in. If you want that intentional support, there is 6 months or beyond at this point worth of resources on how to support your mental health, all sorts of topics. Every single month we hop into something, and we had a full discussion this past week around everything we're navigating and trusting your inner being. And it was a really empowering space. So if you're really looking for that intentional community, and you have a little income to put towards that feels aligned for you, you can just go to amandacatherineloy.com/membership and snag your spot. And of course, if you have any questions for me, for Rachel, reach out online, reach out on Instagram. We are here. We are constantly creating content for you. And I will always be here in your earbuds as per usual every week. So thank you so much, Rachel, for being here. Thank you for all
Yeah,
of
of course.
it. And I just adore you to the moon, and I'll see you on the other side.